Hey, good Friday to you. We're looking at some fair weather across the country right now. Milton, out to sea, that storm pretty much done, and now we're turning to what's ahead. I think we're getting our first taste of winter for some of you. Of course, we've got our frost in the mornings already starting to set up in many areas, but it looks like some below normal temperatures are on the way, plus even a little bit of snow in some areas, and some of the storms are really starting to get cranked up as you push some of the models out long term, but they're not really that reliable when you look out that far. For example, this is the extended European weeklies, kind of taking a look at the snow totals. This is really climatologically normal, right? You'll start to get your first dustings of snow normally in the Northeast and into the Rockies. Some of that snow starts to add up. So we're going to look at some of those potential events over the next really week or so, because we do have a couple of them moving across the country. Now, let's take a look at what's going on right now through the weekend. We're warm across the Central Plains into parts of the East. That starts to change as we head into the weekend, really for this area. We start to see this trough dig in. That's also going to really cool down the Northeast too. We've been a little bit below normal, but we're talking about temperatures that are going to go quite a bit below normal as we head into maybe Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. Take a look at this. These blues and greens really showing you the departure from averages. Some of these areas a good 10 to up to 20 degrees below average, especially into some of the mountains. And it doesn't stop in the Northeast. This is going to push all the way down to Florida. So a bit of a taste of fall here as our dry season begins across the Sunshine State. Here's the piece of energy that we're watching. Let's back up just a little bit and talk about Friday. Overall quiet here across the East and the West too, with our flow really up here to the north. High pressure building in. We're saying goodbye to Milton. The storm now out to sea, moving away. And overall, relatively quiet through Saturday, too. There could be a few rain and snow showers across the Northeast, and then a few rain showers trying to develop with our system that's moving across the Great Lakes. So really, I guess, west of Lake Michigan, and then up into parts of Wisconsin, we'll start to see some showers here into North Dakota. This will all start to dive south, and then surface low pressure starts to develop here, somewhere around lower Michigan, parts of Ohio. That starts to move to the east. Our upper level trough swinging through here. This is your coldest air. That's starting to dive south and really into the Northeast. This is something that I'm keeping an eye on this. Let's go a little bit closer in here. Well, first let's look at the European. It's arguably a little bit warmer. It's taken into account the time of year, the sun angle, and all those things. So sometimes the GFS does get a little cold, but let's look at it right now anyway, because I think it's been pretty consistent in saying, look, there's going to be some rain and snow showers for the Great Lakes, also into the Northeast. Now, not everywhere around the Great Lakes will see this. In fact, it's a little too warm. Some of the streamers off of Lake Michigan will likely just be lake effect rain showers. But once you get up into the mountains, and some of this moisture will make it as far south as West Virginia, into parts of Pennsylvania, I do think it does mix with snow. Also into parts of really northern and western New York here, from the Adirondacks, the Green and White Mountains up in this region, could see a few snow showers, and then that continues into Tuesday. Tuesday looks to be a really chilly day across this region here. Let's move this forward in time. A little closer look here in the Northeast. You can see that snow here breaking out. If we see accumulating snow, it still feels to me like it's a Canadian storm here wrapping up, and it may not even really hit the big cities here like Ottawa, Montreal. It may be north of that, and it's definitely going to be north of Toronto. So southern Ontario, just looking at some rain showers, which a few snow showers could try to mix in here with quite a bit of cold air aloft that's moving through. That moves out pretty quickly, so by Thursday and Friday, we're starting to dry out, and conditions will start to improve some, and our temperatures also warm up by the end of next week. Let's look at those surface temperatures. This is where we're going to feel the big chill. Many of you probably waking up with frost over the last couple of mornings, and not so much across the south though, right? And look at this heat here. Saturday into Sunday, 90s from Arkansas down into Louisiana, East Texas. But there comes the cold heading into Monday, and then really into Tuesday, we start to feel that push of cold air way to the south. It's, of course, modified by this point, not super cold, but still, we're looking at temperatures, especially Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning looks to be the coldest for the most areas anyway. Widespread 20s here in the Appalachians. That's a concern, especially with the damage and a lot of folks without power from Helene still. And we start to see that warming trend by the end of next week, with temperatures rebounding nicely back into the 50s and 60s into the Northeast, 60s and 70s. And this is pleasant here across the South, right? We're looking at some nice October temperatures with highs at close to 70 for places like Atlanta, Columbia. A little warmer, though, once you get back toward Mississippi and Louisiana, back into the 80s. It's hot though across the plains. It's going to stay hot again today and tomorrow. 90s as far north as southern Nebraska. That will start to change eventually as we head into next week. Our first cool down really starts to begin up here in the parts of North Dakota and South Dakota. That cool push of air, you can see it here coming down the Front Range here, or I should say on the east side of the Front Range. So now we're in the 70s instead of the 90s. So a bit of a cool down back closer to where we should be this time of year. Still, though, staying hot across Texas in the 90s through Tuesday, maybe even into Wednesday of next week. So warm temperatures here for sure. And then a big cool down looks to be on the way for a good chunk of the West. And again, I think this all is pending a storm that may develop into next weekend, and that may be a snowmaker for the Northern Plains. Still a little early on that, but there's a lot of cold air with this. I mean, look at this. We're talking about single digits and teens back here in the Intermountain West into the Rockies. So some really chilly air, and there's that front. You can see it here next weekend. So a lot going on right now. Hope you'll come back and subscribe. See you next time right here on this channel. See ya.